Stop talking like you're hoping to be heard, and start speaking like someone people want to follow. Because here's the truth most people never learn. Influence isn't about being loud, smart, or dominant. It's about learning how to think with clarity, speak with intention, and deliver words that make people lean in instead of tune out. Right now, most conversations fail before they even start. Not because the idea is weak, but because the delivery lacks direction. When you think like a pro, every sentence has a purpose. When you speak like a pro, every word moves people closer to trust. And when you influence like a pro, people don't feel pushed. They feel guided. The shift starts in your thinking. High-level communicators don't react, they pause, process, and choose their response. That tiny pause is power. It tells your brain to organize the message before your mouth releases it. And when your thoughts are structured, your voice carries authority without aggression. That's influence in motion. Before you speak, ask yourself one question. What result do I want from this moment? Not what you want to say, what outcome you want to create. When you think in outcomes, your words become tools instead of noise. Now let's talk about delivery, because influence lives in how you say things, not just what you say. Speak slower than feels natural. Most people rush because they want approval. Professionals slow down because they expect attention. Slowing your speech signals confidence, and confidence attracts trust instantly. Use decisive language. Replace weak phrases like, I guess, or maybe with grounded statements like, here's what works, or this is the direction. You're not being arrogant, you're communicating certainty. And certainty is magnetic. But influence isn't domination. It's connection. When you speak, aim to make the listener feel understood, not impressed. Mirror their energy. Acknowledge their perspective. Use phrases like, I see what you're saying, or that makes sense. Here's another angle. This keeps defenses down and minds open. Influence grows when people feel respected. Another powerful move, speak in visuals. Instead of abstract explanations, paint a picture. Say, imagine walking into a room where everyone listens the moment you speak. The brain locks onto imagery. Visual language makes your message stick. And here's the secret most influencers understand. Emotion drives memory. Facts inform. Emotion moves. When you speak with controlled passion, not chaos, your message carries weight. Let your tone rise slightly when emphasizing a key point. Pause after powerful lines. Silence isn't empty. It's emphasis. Your voice is an instrument. Use rhythm, pacing, and tone to guide attention. Now let's elevate your influence. Influential communicators don't try to win arguments. They win alignment. Instead of saying, you're wrong, say, let's build on that. This keeps collaboration alive and positions you as someone people want to follow, not fight. Ask strong questions. Questions shift control without resistance. Try, what outcome are we aiming for? Or, how can we make this stronger? Questions invite participation, and participation creates buy-in. And remember, people don't follow perfect speakers. They follow clear ones. Clarity beats complexity every time. If a sentence feels heavy, simplify it. Speak so a teenager understands and a professional respects it. That balance is where true influence lives. The final layer is presence. Stand or sit like your words matter, because they do. Your posture, eye focus, and breathing communicate before you even open your mouth. Influence starts the moment people see you, not when you speak. When your thinking is intentional, your speech is controlled, and your delivery is human, influence becomes natural. You stop chasing attention and start commanding respect without force. And here's the payoff: when you master this, conversations change. Opportunities change. Relationships change. People trust your direction because your communication feels grounded, clear, and purposeful. That's how professionals think. That's how professionals speak. And that's how professionals influence. If this message sharpened the way you see communication, don't stop here. Subscribe and stay with the Motivational Audiobook Spot for more mindset upgrades that turn everyday conversations into leadership moments. Because the way you speak shapes the way the world responds, and your next level starts with your next sentence. Let me tell you something most people never admit out loud. The moment your voice shakes, rushes, or hides behind filler words, people don't just hear hesitation. They feel uncertainty. And humans are wired to follow certainty. I learned this the hard way. There was a moment, maybe you've lived it too, when I had something important to say. The idea was strong. The intention was real. But when I opened my mouth, the words stumbled out like they were asking permission to exist. The room didn't reject me, but it didn't follow me either. And that silence, that polite nod, that half attention, that was the wake-up call. Because influence isn't about talking more. It's about talking with presence. And presence is built, not born. Here's where everything changes. Imagine walking into a conversation knowing you don't have to prove yourself. You only have to deliver clarity. That shift alone removes pressure. Your shoulders relax. Your breathing slows. Your voice lands instead of floats. That's when people start leaning in. And the emotional core of influence is this: people don't respond to perfect words. They respond to felt intention. When someone hears honesty in your tone, calm in your pacing, and purpose in your delivery, their brain says, this person is safe to listen to. Influence begins with safety. Now picture this story. A young professional walks into their first big meeting. Heart racing, thoughts spinning. They've rehearsed everything. But inside, fear is loud. When their turn comes, they pause. One breath, just one. Instead of rushing, they speak slower than their fear wants. And something wild happens. The room quiets. Their voice isn't booming. It isn't dramatic. It's steady, intentional, human. Every sentence lands because it's chosen, not spilled. Afterward, someone says, when you talk, people listen. Not because the words were magic, but because the delivery carried belief. That's the moment influence becomes real. And here's the part nobody tells you. Influence grows when you let emotion support your message, not control it. You're not hiding feeling. You're directing it. Warmth in your tone makes people feel included. Strength in your pauses makes people trust your message. Think of your voice like music. Fast pacing builds excitement. Slow pacing builds authority. Silence builds impact. Use all three. When you want energy, tighten your sentences. Say it clean. Say it sharp. Let it hit. When you want depth, stretch the moment. Give the listener time to absorb what matters. Because viral communication isn't loud. It's rhythmic. Listen. People remember how you made them feel long after they forget your exact words. So speak to emotion. Instead of saying, you should be confident, say, imagine speaking and feeling your chest steady, your thoughts clear, your words landing exactly where you want them. That paints an experience. The brain doesn't just hear it, it rehearses it. And rehearsal builds belief. Now let's raise the energy. Influence isn't about dominating space. It's about owning your moment. When you speak, commit fully. Half-energy communication creates half-attention results. Full presence creates magnetic pull. Lean into keywords. Pause before powerful statements. Let your listener feel the build and the release. That rhythm is what keeps ears locked in. And here's something especially powerful: warmth multiplies influence. A voice that carries calm confidence and human warmth becomes instantly approachable. That's the sweet spot. You're not talking at people. You're talking with them. That's why the best communicators sound like they're speaking to one person, even in a crowd. Picture your listener. Speak to them. Let your tone say, I see you. I get it. Let's move forward together. Because influence is partnership. And when you combine clarity, emotion, pacing, and warmth, your words don't just inform. They guide. They reassure. They energize. They create motion inside the listener. That's the real goal. Not applause. Not approval. Transformation. Every time you speak, you're shaping how someone thinks, feels, or acts next. That's responsibility and power. So the next time your voice rises, don't rush it. Breathe. Choose the thought. Deliver the sentence like it matters. Because it does. And when you repeat this process, intentional thinking, grounded speech, emotional connection, Influence stops being something you try to perform. It becomes something you naturally embody. That's when conversations open doors. That's when people trust your direction. That's when your voice becomes a space others want to step into. And if this message is hitting something real inside you, good. That means you're ready to sharpen the way you think, speak, and influence every room you walk into. Stay with this journey. Subscribe to the Motivational Audiobook Spot for more mindset upgrades that turn your voice into your advantage. Because the way you communicate isn't just sound, it's your impact in motion. And your next breakthrough starts the moment you decide your words deserve intention. There's a deeper layer to influence that most people never see, because it happens inside the listener, not on the surface of your words. Persuasion isn't about forcing agreement. It's about guiding perception. When you speak, the listener's brain is constantly asking 3 silent questions. Do I trust this voice? Does this make sense? Does this help me? Every influential communicator answers those questions without ever saying them out loud. Trust is built first. And trust doesn't come from perfection, it comes from alignment. Your tone, pacing, and message must agree with each other. If your words say confidence but your delivery whispers doubt, the brain chooses the signal, not the sentence. That's persuasion psychology in action. Humans believe what they feel more than what they hear. So when you speak, anchor your message in certainty. Not arrogance. Not pressure. Calm certainty. It tells the listener you're safe to follow this direction. Now persuasion deepens when you involve the listener's identity. Instead of telling someone what to do, speak to who they are becoming. Say things like, someone who communicates with clarity doesn't rush their message, or leaders pause before they respond. You're not commanding behavior, you're inviting identity. And identity-driven persuasion sticks because people protect who they believe they are. Let me show you how this plays out in a real moment. Picture a young team leader stepping into a room where tension is thick. Deadlines missed. Frustration simmering. Everyone expects blame. The leader could dominate the space. But instead, they choose influence. They take a breath. Their voice is steady. I know this week stretched everyone. I see the effort. Now let's reset and build forward. Something shifts instantly. Shoulders drop. Attention locks in. No one feels attacked, they feel included. The leader continues, slower than emotion demands. Here's what we control next. Clear priorities. Clean communication. No guessing. The room aligns. Not because the leader shouted louder, but because their words created direction without resistance. That's persuasion through emotional intelligence. Influence isn't volume, it's alignment. Leadership communication follows a simple but powerful flow. Acknowledge reality, establish direction, invite participation. When people feel seen, they listen. When they see direction, they follow. When they're invited into the solution, they commit. And persuasion grows strongest when the listener feels ownership. Use phrases like, imagine how this changes your next conversation. Or, picture the version of you that speaks with calm authority. You're planting mental rehearsal. The brain starts simulating success, and simulated success lowers resistance. This is why storytelling is one of the most persuasive tools you have. Stories bypass defense. They let the listener experience change instead of being told to change. Imagine someone who avoided speaking up for years. Meetings felt like pressure chambers. Every idea stayed locked behind hesitation. One day, they decide to practice intentional pauses. One breath before speaking. One clear sentence instead of 5 rushed ones. The first time they try it, their voice trembles, but it lands. No interruption. No dismissal. Just attention. That tiny win rewires belief. Weeks later, they're the person others look to when clarity is needed. Not louder. Not dominant. Just grounded. That's the power of incremental persuasion. Influencing your own identity first. Because the strongest persuasion always starts inward. When you believe your voice has value, your delivery changes automatically. Your posture opens. Your breathing stabilizes. Your words stop chasing approval and start delivering intention. Confidence isn't the absence of nerves. It's the decision to speak with direction anyway. And emotional confidence grows through repetition of small, intentional wins. One clear sentence. One controlled pause. One moment of grounded delivery. Stack enough of those, and your nervous system learns a new baseline. This is safe. Now let's raise the energy because influence also needs momentum. When you feel your message building, let your tone rise with purpose. Shorten your sentences. Deliver impact lines clean. Speak. Pause. Let it hit. That rhythm triggers attention spikes in the listener's brain. Feels dynamic, alive, memorable. And here's the truth that separates average communicators from influential ones. Influential speakers don't try to sound impressive. They try to be understood. Simplicity scales persuasion. If your message is clear enough for a teenager and strong enough for a professional, it travels further and sticks longer. Every word should carry intention. Every pause should create space. Every sentence should move the listener forward. Because influence is motion. You are guiding thought, emotion, and action. Not with force, but with clarity and presence. So the next time you speak, remember what's really happening. You're not just exchanging words. You're shaping perception. You're building trust. You're inviting alignment. You're influencing identity. That's leadership in its purest form. And when you practice this, when you slow your delivery, anchor your tone, speak to identity, and guide emotion, your voice stops being background noise. It becomes direction. That's when people lean in. That's when conversations create opportunity. That's when your communication becomes a catalyst for change, for you and for everyone listening. If this is resonating, don't let it be inspiration that fades. Turn it into practice. Stay connected with the Motivational Audiobook Spot for more mindset upgrades that sharpen your thinking, strengthen your voice, and expand your influence. Because the way you communicate defines how far your ideas travel. And your next level isn't waiting for permission. It's waiting for your voice. Speak with intention. Influence with clarity. And watch what changes. There's a moment in every conversation where influence either rises or disappears. It's not loud. It's not obvious. But it's the split second where people decide whether your voice carries weight or just sound. That moment is charisma in motion. Charisma isn't charm. It isn't personality tricks. It's the alignment of intention, presence, and emotional control. When those three lock together, people don't just hear you. They feel pulled toward your direction. Advanced persuasion begins with energy calibration. Every room has an emotional temperature. Walk in too aggressive and resistance rises. Walk in too passive and attention drifts. Charismatic communicators read the room first, then match, then guide. You enter calm, you speak grounded, and slowly elevate the energy to where you want the conversation to land. That's influence leadership, because people rarely reject direction that feels natural. Now imagine a real-life moment. A friend group is stuck in indecision. Everyone talking. No movement. Voices overlapping. Energy scattered. One person leans in, not louder, just clearer. All right, here's the move. We pick one plan and run it. Who's in? Silence. Then nods. Not because the plan was perfect, but because clarity cut through chaos. That's charisma. Decisive energy delivered with inclusion. You're not overpowering the group. You're giving their uncertainty a direction to follow. And persuasion deepens when you combine authority with warmth. Authority says we're moving forward. Warmth says we're moving forward together. When those signals blend, people relax into your leadership instead of resisting it. Now picture an executive scenario. A meeting is tense. Numbers are down. Pressure is high. Everyone expects defensiveness. The leader speaks slowly. No panic. We're looking at facts, not fear. Here's what we control next. The room shifts instantly. Their voice carries certainty without aggression. Their pacing signals stability. Their words create structure where anxiety lived seconds before. That's executive persuasion. Calm direction in emotional environments. Leaders don't eliminate tension. They absorb it, then redistribute clarity. And charisma thrives on emotional contrast. When you lower your voice slightly before a key line, attention tightens. When you pause longer than expected, anticipation builds. When your tone rises with conviction, momentum follows. Your voice becomes a guided experience. People don't just listen, they ride the rhythm. This is where deep confidence rewiring happens. Confidence is not born from hype. It's built from repeated evidence that your voice can hold space. Every intentional pause teaches your nervous system, I'm safe here. Every grounded sentence teaches your brain, my words have direction. And the rewiring compounds. You begin to enter conversations expecting clarity instead of fearing judgment. Your posture shifts. Your breathing stabilizes. Your delivery becomes deliberate, not rushed, not forced. Confidence stops being something you chase. It becomes your baseline. Now let's move into social persuasion at its highest level. Influential communicators don't try to win moments. They create experiences people want to repeat. They listen fully. They respond with intention. They make others feel sharper, calmer, more capable in their presence. That's magnetic charisma, because people are drawn to voices that organize emotional space. Imagine a tough conversation with someone you care about. Emotions are rising. Words are about to collide. Instead of reacting, you anchor. I want to understand this, right? Talk to me. The temperature drops. You didn't avoid the tension. You redirected it into clarity. That's persuasion through emotional leadership, guiding the conversation without escalating it. And here's the advanced layer. Charismatic persuasion isn't about control. It's about creating psychological safety while maintaining direction. People follow voices that feel steady. Not perfect, not dominant, steady. Now feel the energy building, because when you combine clarity, emotional intelligence, decisive pacing, and warmth, your presence becomes influential before you even speak. Rooms settle when you enter. Conversations organize when you talk. Decisions accelerate when you guide. That's not performance. That's embodied communication. And here's the crescendo truth. Your voice is not just sound. It's architecture. Every sentence builds structure in someone else's mind. Every pause creates space for belief. Every intentional word moves perception forward. When you think like a leader, speak with clarity, and influence with emotional precision, you stop chasing attention and start directing momentum. So the next time you open your mouth, remember what you're really doing. You are shaping energy. You are organizing thought. You are guiding outcomes. And when you commit to that level of communication, fully, intentionally, repeatedly, your voice becomes a catalyst. Opportunities respond differently. People trust faster. Rooms align sooner. Because influence is no longer something you attempt. It's something you embody. If this message is igniting something inside you, don't let it fade into background motivation. Stay connected with the Motivational Audiobook Spot for more communication upgrades that sharpen your presence, elevate your thinking, and expand your influence. Because your voice is more than expression. It's direction. Speak with clarity. Lead with intention. Influence with purpose. And watch your world reorganize around the strength of your communication. Your next level isn't waiting for permission. It's waiting for your voice. There comes a point in your communication journey where technique stops being enough. This is where persuasion becomes identity. At the highest level, influence is no longer something you do, it's something you radiate. People don't wait for your words to decide how to respond. Your presence has already shaped the emotional landscape. Master persuasion begins with one principle most overlooked. People are not persuaded by logic first. They are persuaded by internal alignment. Every listener is subconsciously scanning for congruence. Does your tone match your message? Does your pacing match your intention? Does your emotional energy match your claim? When everything aligns, resistance drops before a single argument is evaluated. That's why elite communicators don't push harder. They align deeper. They speak from grounded certainty. Their voice doesn't chase approval or fear rejection. It carries direction because the speaker has already accepted their message internally. And the brain recognizes that instantly. Now imagine a high-stakes moment, a negotiation, a presentation, a conversation where outcomes matter. The room is tight. Expectations are heavy. Eyes are waiting. Most people try to fill that tension with speed. Words rush out in an attempt to outrun discomfort. The elite communicator does the opposite. They pause. Not a nervous pause, a deliberate one. And that silence reorganizes the room. Attention sharpens. Emotional noise settles. Authority emerges without a single forceful word. Then they speak, measured, clear, intentional. Here's where we are, and here's where we're going. No excess language, no defensive tone, just structure delivered with calm certainty. That's persuasion at its highest level, creating emotional stability others can stand inside. And charisma at this tier isn't performance, it's containment. You hold your energy instead of leaking it. Your breathing is slow. Your posture is open. Your delivery is grounded. This signals psychological safety and leadership simultaneously. People follow voices that feel like anchors in motion. Now let's talk about presence training, the invisible layer. Presence is built through repetition of intentional control. Every time you choose to slow your speech under pressure, you're training your nervous system to associate tension with clarity instead of panic. Over time, your baseline changes. What once felt intimidating becomes familiar territory. You're no longer reacting to rooms, you're shaping them, and persuasion deepens when you speak to identity evolution. Instead of telling someone what action to take, you activate the version of themselves that naturally takes it. You're the kind of person who communicates with precision. You're someone who creates clarity when pressure rises. They speak from grounded certainty. Their voice doesn't chase approval or fear rejection. It carries direction because the speaker has already accepted their message internally. And the brain recognizes that instantly. Now imagine a high-stakes moment, a negotiation, a presentation, a conversation where outcomes matter. The room is tight. Expectations are heavy. Eyes are waiting. Most people try to fill that tension with speed. Words rush out in an attempt to outrun discomfort. The elite communicator does the opposite. They pause. Not a nervous pause, a deliberate one. And that silence reorganizes the room. Attention sharpens. Emotional noise settles. Authority emerges without a single forceful word. Then they speak, measured, clear, intentional. Here's where we are, and here's where we're going. No excess language, no defensive tone, just structure delivered with calm certainty. That's persuasion at its highest level, creating emotional stability others can stand inside. And charisma at this tier isn't performance, it's containment. You hold your energy instead of leaking it. Your breathing is slow. Your posture is open. Your delivery is grounded. This signals psychological safety and leadership simultaneously. People follow voices that feel like anchors in motion. Now let's talk about presence training, the invisible layer. Presence is built through repetition of intentional control. Every time you choose to slow your speech under pressure, you're training your nervous system to associate tension with clarity instead of panic. Over time, your baseline changes. What once felt intimidating becomes familiar territory. You're no longer reacting to rooms, you're shaping them, and persuasion deepens when you speak to identity evolution. Instead of telling someone what action to take, you activate the version of themselves that naturally takes it. You're the kind of person who communicates with precision. You're someone who creates clarity when pressure rises. Statements like these don't command behavior, they invite transformation. The listener begins aligning actions with the identity you've illuminated. That's master persuasion, guiding self-perception. Now picture another high-stakes scenario, a difficult conversation with someone whose emotions are already elevated. Instead of matching intensity, you anchor your tone. I want us to leave this clearer than we entered. The words don't attack, they establish direction. Emotional heat loses fuel because your delivery refuses escalation. Influence isn't winning the emotional battle. It's redirecting energy toward resolution. Elite communicators understand this truth. Control your state, and you influence the state of the room. Confidence expansion lives here. True confidence is not loud certainty. It's calm self-permission. The moment you accept that your voice deserves space, your delivery transforms. Hesitation shrinks. Clarity expands. Your nervous system learns a new rule. Speaking with intention is safe. Repeat that enough and confidence becomes identity, not effort. And identity-driven communication is magnetic. People don't feel pushed by your words. They feel guided by your presence. Now feel the momentum building, because master persuasion is not about dominating outcomes. It's about organizing possibility. Every intentional sentence gives direction to thought. Every pause allows belief to land. Every grounded tone stabilizes emotional space. That's leadership communication in its purest form. You're not talking to fill silence. You're shaping environments. And here's the finale truth, the one that separates communicators from influencers. Your voice is architecture for reality. Every word you release constructs perception. Every moment of clarity builds trust. Every aligned sentence moves people closer to decision, confidence, and action. When you think with intention, speak with grounded precision, and influence with emotional intelligence, you become a catalyst. Rooms change faster. Decisions form cleaner. People align sooner. Because your communication carries direction, not noise. So the next time you enter a conversation, whether it's a meeting, a negotiation, or a personal moment that matters, remember what you hold. You hold the power to stabilize emotion, to organize thought, to guide outcomes. And when you commit to that level of presence, fully and repeatedly, your voice stops being something you use and becomes something you embody. If this journey has sharpened the way you see communication, stay connected with the Motivational Audiobook spot for more mindset upgrades that elevate your thinking, expand your presence, and strengthen your influence. Because your words are not just expressions. They are instruments of direction. Speak with intention. Lead with clarity. Influence with purpose. And watch how the world responds when your voice carries alignment, confidence, and momentum. If this message sharpened your thinking, strengthened your voice, or shifted how you see communication, don't let that momentum stop here. Subscribe to the Motivational Audiobook spot and stay connected to the kind of ideas that upgrade how you think, speak, and influence every room you walk into. Because your voice is power, and the more you train it, the more doors it opens. Hit subscribe, stay with us, and keep building the version of you that speaks with clarity, confidence, and purpose.